curve. Traffic is heavy on the Edens inbound Cicero to the junction. Looking at about 18 minutes either way between Lake Cook and Montrose. Inbound Kennedy, 33 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, 17 from Montrose, 12 on the Express. Eisenhower, 42 minutes, 390 to downtown. Stevenson, 47 minutes, 355 to the drive. To Ryan, 32 minutes from 95th. I-57, 21 minutes, siding to the merge. Bishop, 425. That's traffic. I'm Jim Alamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next in our 1-hour heating and air conditioning weather center. Sunny skies and a high near 26 today. 12 at O'Hare, 15 Lakefront, 8 this morning in Aurora. Wind chills below 0. Your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Don't miss the Ruger event at Shoot Point Blank, now through February 23rd. Save on all Ruger firearms, including the Ruger SR9C 9mm, starting at $279.99. Shop the Ruger event, in-store or online at shootpointblank.com.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. We're coming to you live from CPGIO in Addison, part of our Signature Bank business tour that we embarked upon last week. And last night in Las Vegas, all the socialists got together to beat up on Bloomberg, the clear winner from last night's debate. Not President Trump, the clear winner.
What? Who?
Bloomberg's media consultants, who will now probably get at least another $1 billion to spend to cover up for that bombing that Bloomberg offered the nation yesterday. Bloomberg lived down to his reputation as a colorless technocrat. And frankly, until the last half hour of the debate, so after everybody had turned on to something more interesting, Bloomberg was just a pincushion there. Started right out of the gate with Elizabeth Warren putting a brand on Bloomberg.
So I'd like to talk about who we're running against. A billionaire who calls women fat broads and horse-faced lesbians. And no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Mayor Bloomberg. Democrats are not going to win if we have a nominee who has a history of hiding his tax returns, of harassing women, and of supporting racist policies like redlining and stop and frisk. Look, I'll support whoever the Democratic nominee is, but understand this. Democrats take a huge risk if we just substitute one arrogant billionaire for another. This country has worked for the rich for a long time and left everyone else in the dirt. It is time to have a president who will be on the side of working families and be willing to get out there and fight for them. That is why I am in this race, and that is how I will beat Donald Trump.
Senator, we got to wake up. That's why she's in this race. She's looking for somebody who would represent working families, apparently, because she certainly isn't one. And then Bernie Sanders, he accosted Bloomberg. Bloomberg shouldn't even exist.
According to Bernie.
A Bloomberg should not exist in America or anywhere else in the world.
Like this and waving his hands.
Senator Sanders, what did you mean that you don't think they should exist?
Tell you what I mean.
What did that mean?
We have a grotesque and immoral distribution of wealth and income. Mike Bloomberg owns more wealth than the bottom 125 million Americans. That's wrong. That's immoral. That should not be the case when we got 500,000 people sleeping out on the streets, where we have kids who cannot afford to go to college.
Yeah, you get the rest of it.
Well, but then
it's
also,
immoral.
and Bloomberg shot back at Bernie, which I thought was fantastic. He's like, well, you're a millionaire.
What a wonderful country we have. The best-known socialist in the country happens to be a millionaire with 3 houses. What I miss here?
Well, you'll miss that I work in Washington, House 1.
That's the first problem.
Live in Burlington, House 2.
That's good.
And like thousands of other Vermonters, I do have a summer camp. Forgive me for that. Where is your home? Which tax haven do you have your home?
New York City, thank you very much.
Yeah, well,
and I pay all my taxes. And I'm happy to do it because I get something for it.
I thought it was fiery and fun last night.
Well, you have a very low threshold for what constitutes fun.
That exchange was about as good as it got for Bloomberg, which isn't very good. And then, of course, you have Goldilocks in the middle.
Yes, we've got to wake up as a party. We could wake up 2 weeks from today, the day after Super Tuesday, and the only candidates left standing will be Bernie Sanders and Mike Bloomberg, the two most polarizing figures on this stage. And most Americans don't see where they fit if they've got to choose between a socialist who thinks that capitalism is the root of all evil and a billionaire who thinks that money ought to be the root of all power. Let's put forward somebody who actually lives and works in a middle-class neighborhood in an industrial Midwestern city. Let's put forward somebody who's actually a Democrat. Look. We shouldn't have to choose between one candidate who wants to burn this party down and another candidate who wants to buy this party out. Look, we can do better.
Senator.
Is it me?
Nice rehearsed line.
Yeah, is it me, or does every utterance from Mannequin Pete sound like it was ripped from the pages of Life's Little Instruction Book? It's not me. Did he not say at the stage at some point, if you're going after Moby Dick, bring the tartar sauce and other such aphorisms? I mean, he is like a Dr. Phil wind-up doll.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Nonsense. The only other better moment for Bloomberg, and I think that with exchange with Bernie, you just heard him call it the socialist who's a millionaire with 3 houses, was when he said, I think I'm the only one on the stage who's actually started a business. So if we could talk a little bit about economic activity, job creation, capital formation, I'm the only one on this stage who knows anything about that. That was about as good as it got. But otherwise, this is a guy who voters probably need to see less, and he needs to spend more if in the interest of his own electoral chances. It seemed to me, to analogize this to 2016, there was Bernie Sanders and everybody else trying to get to second place. And that's exactly the dynamic it was with Trump. And Ted Cruz got to second place, but by that time, Trump was the nominee. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by David Harsanyi, a senior writer for National Review, author of the book First Freedom, A Ride Through America's Enduring History with the Gun from the Revolution to Today. David, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
So, just sort of your top-line assessment on whether or not anything that happened last night materially changed anybody's fortunes.
I think you laid it out exactly how it is. I don't really understand, for instance, I don't think anything has changed in any big way. Maybe Bloomberg took a hit yesterday, but I don't understand why Warren didn't go after Sanders. You assume that a lot of her voters are there, and that's the road she needs to take. But I think this just helps solidify Sanders as the front runner. I just can't believe some of the stuff I was hearing. It's like, if I was up there, I'd be calling Bernie a communist every other word. You have the platitudes of Mayor Pete, which just are so grating to me. I can't believe anyone would vote for that guy. But so I don't know. It was very entertaining, WrestleMania-ish, and fun for me to watch that in some way, but I don't think it changed anything.
And Elizabeth
I also
Warren,
think you're right
she
about
left
Trump.
Bloomberg in a puddle.
What's
Pardon?
that? I was just saying that I think
Elizabeth
you're right
Warren,
about.
it was do or die for her. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Everyone I think wants to be Go ahead, David. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I keep stepping on your words. I just think everyone.
So you were just saying, yeah. Go ahead.
It's very similar to the Trump, Rubio, Trump, Cruz formulation, where you had people sort of knocking each other out and Trump on top. I think that's what it looks like to me with Sanders.
And Bernie Sanders, who would be his vice president? Because he's clearly in the lead right now. Who do you see him choosing?
You wonder if he might want to
and
moderate.
Lenin is not available. Yeah.
No, Trotsky. He's more of a Trotskyite, I think. But I think
you're right about that.
I'm not sure. Do you think? I think he might look for someone who's more moderate the ticket in some way. But when you hear him speak, everyone's more moderate than him, right? So maybe he will go with Elizabeth Warren. But I assume he'll pick a woman or someone far younger than he is, because he doesn't look like a guy who's going to be around for 2 terms. I know that people don't like to hear that sort of thing, but it seems to me that these are very old people up there. And it's worth talking about.
Maybe. maybe there's some pantomiming going on even with Elizabeth Warren, but in terms of what they're actually saying, if you strip away the histrionics, Elizabeth Warren went on a riff against private property last night that will not be covered by anybody except people like you and me. That was stunning. She talked about how she would put an immediate moratorium on all mining and drilling on all public lands in this country. She talked about the ravages done to the environment in land that is held privately. I mean, she all but set up a follow-up from any moderator that has firing synapses. Unfortunately, none were available last night to say, well, based on what you're saying, shouldn't all the land in this country be in the hands of the federal government to be used in the service of the people for the public's good as you see fit? Isn't that what you're effectively saying? All the land in private hands ravaging the environment, and we're going to protect the public lands as sacrosanct sanctuaries. It was really a remarkable riff that's going to go completely uncommented upon.
Yeah, I mean, she says things that are crazy. Even the clip that you played, she's saying that this country has been run for billionaires and that everyone else has been left behind. What is she talking about? First of all, we have a massive middle class, but also a growing upper middle class. Poverty, it usually stays at around the same rate. It's been that way forever. I mean, there's massive growth in this country. We live longer for the most part. Lately, there's been a little tick down, but usually, the long-term trend is up. Everything that you can think of is trending higher, and they talk about the world as it's ending. And as you mentioned, the default for them is that government owes everything, and then it gives you something. If it gives you a tax break to, Michael Bloomberg supposedly bought his houses on the backs of working people, not that he created jobs. I mean, their whole rhetoric is collectivist and socialist and statist and authoritarian. I can't even believe that this is where we are.
And again, I just have to go. The questions are so bad. There is no pushback on the premises of any position that anybody on that stage takes. I mean, for goodness sakes, 30 minutes into that debate, and you have one of the fungible moderators talking about, release of medical records. I thought these debates were supposed to be about the American people's interests, and there's no follow-up to statements about billionaires shouldn't exist, like Bernie said. The clip we played. Okay, Bernie, so billionaires shouldn't exist. So forget whether you would take campaign cash from billionaires. That's about you. What about the $10 billion that Jeff Bezos has committed to underwrite all of your deindustrialization plans for America? Would you allow that money to be deployed too, or should that just be seized as well? I mean, let's get into the real specifics here. Let's start talking details of all these grand plans that they have and pushing back on some of this magical thinking, but none of that happens.
Right. Has he ever explained how we're going to stop billionaires from existing? I don't know that there's a plan for that other than just destroying the economy, which I guess is part of his plan. And, there's another part of this. I mean, you're normalizing this kind of rhetoric at the highest level of politics where now young people and others are going to adopt it and it's going to, especially if it's successful, be part of how we speak. I mean, this was the argument about Trump and the way he speaks, et cetera. But now you're talking about something that outlives a person. This is, these are policies that will be here long after Bernie is gone, and ideas at least, and have been here for a long time. And now you're going to have Americans talking this way. It's really disconcerting. Sometimes I wonder if it's real. Do people really want that sort of policy, or is that just something we like to hear? Is it like going? I don't want to diss on religious people, but is it like some religious people? But is it like going to church and hearing the things that you find moral and good, and then going home and acting it in any way you want? So I think it might be the latter for a lot of people. Do
you think Senator Warren saved her? Do you think Senator Warren saved her campaign last night by attacking Bloomberg?
I don't think so. In a bigger way, it reminded me a little bit of Tulsi taking out Kamala. I don't know. I think that. I don't think she's that likable. I don't think there's enough there for her to do, or enough space for her to really take over. I mean, unless people start dropping out, I don't really know how you're going to change the dynamics of this race very much.
You think Trump and his pollster Tony Fabrizio are right to say that they'd rather face Bloomberg than Bernie?
I don't know. I thought Trump would lose, so I hate to say things like that, but I think that Bernie is not the type of candidate you want in today's Democratic Party, or in fact today's world, but because he comes off as a kind of douchey billionaire. So I don't know that he's going to connect with middle America in the way that Trump could. So I don't know about places like Wisconsin and wherever. Then again, it's still hard for me to believe that a bunch of people in states like Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, who are sort of independents or maybe lean a little to the right or don't care that much, are going to vote for Bernie, who has not really been attacked yet by the right. They haven't. It's out there for us. We see that he went to the Soviet Union and stuff like that, but I'm not sure the average person understands any of that stuff, and that's all going to come out, and he's going to be on the defensive a lot.
Well, I'll tell you what, the thing with Bloomberg, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, Trump is not going to hold back. Trump is going to call him a communist over and over again during a debate. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to be like Warren or anyone else when it comes to Bernie. I think we've seen how Trump is, and I think that's going to be a barrage. It's going to be difficult for him to push back against.
Well, I mean, Bloomberg used the C word on the debate stage last night. And I'm not talking about the one he uses in the workplace. He used communist. He said communist about Bernie, and that's when Bernie got all offended.
Yeah, that's
true. He's a Denmarkian socialist, don't you know?
It's so nonsensical.
Good luck selling that.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing about Bloomberg. It seems to me that Bloomberg is doing a good job of guaranteeing that Bernie Sanders is the nominee by completely sucking up all the oxygen that is otherwise available to somebody like Mayor Pete to make one more run, or maybe even Elizabeth Warren to make one more run, because I don't see the others on that stage as having much of a chance. And Bloomberg, I just have a hard time seeing that his latest reinvention, combined with the qualities that he emotes on stage, I just have a hard time seeing him having anything more than a television audience and not a real constituency.
Right. I mean, I think there's a faction out there. They're looking for a more moderate candidate who can win. Biden is a terrible politician, as we've talked about on this show, and he is not that man. So they're looking for someone else to fill that hole. And I think that, Bloomberg, I don't watch much regular, cable TV, but I did yesterday, obviously, and, Bloomberg's everywhere on the television, so they're giving him a look. But he's sucking the air. He is diverting attention away from moderates who could actually win. And if he says he wants a moderate to run over Bernie, but if he really did, he'd drop out of the race. I mean, this is all just about him, and I think that's going to be a disaster for Democrats, but and for America, because I think it's a disaster for America that Bernie will be the nominee. But right now, I don't see any other way.
Yeah. Bloomberg is so high and mighty. I mean, yesterday he put out a memo. He wanted the other moderates to drop out of the race. The Klobuchars, Mayor Pete.
He hasn't been he's always been a Democrat, but he hasn't been a member of the Democratic Party until recently, and he's telling other Democrats who have been in the Senate to drop out of the race. It's just hilarious.
Oh.
There's a piece in Vanity Fair in 2004 written by a great writer, Christopher Hitchens, about Bloomberg as mayor.
Yeah.
So this is 3 years in. You remember this piece? And
I wrote a book.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I keep stepping on you guys. I'm sorry. I'm out of sync with you guys today. But I'm just going to quickly say I wrote a book called Nanny State, and in 2007 or 8, and Bloomberg, I went yesterday to the back to see how often I mention him in the book. He's everywhere in the book, and I mentioned Christopher Hitchens' essay, which I actually reread yesterday. It's just a wonderful essay.
It really is. And this, to me, he captures why Bloomberg is unpalatable. And it doesn't matter how much he could have all the money in the world, and it's not going to be enough. It's not because of necessarily the comments that he's made on a range of topics and a range of groups that have come out over the last couple of weeks. It's the nanny state piece that you were just talking about. And he just emotes that in everything he says, even if he's not talking specifically about regulating the minutia of your life. It just sort of radiates from him. Hitchens called him a micro-megalomaniac, saying in the New York of Mayor Bloomberg There are laws that are not possible to obey and that nobody can respect and that are enforced by arbitrary power. The essence of tyranny is not iron law. It is capricious law. Tyranny can be petty, and petty is not just Bloomberg's middle name. It is his name. The pettiness, the I'm going to make America behave quality of Bloomberg, I think, is the killer for him.
Yeah, he is hard to take, and people don't understand. I think that, or may not understand. In a city like New York, he runs. Basically, he promises to continue Rudy's policies moving forward, and everyone likes that there's gentrification, and everyone likes that crime is down, and everyone, wants a safe city. So they live with a guy like that because there's really no one running against him, and the person who is usually full-blown communist, and they don't want that, even though now they do. But when you're running for president, you need a whole different set of skills. You have to appeal to people in a different way. You're not really running a business. I think it's important that he has, actually, but I don't think that that's top on people's lists when they think about a president. So I don't think he can connect with people, and as you just laid out.
He is David Harsanyi, senior writer for National. David Harsanyi, senior writer for National Review, author of First Freedom: A Ride Through America's Enduring History with the Gun. David, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Balance of nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I was talking to a friend recently, and she said to me, your complexion is so good. It looks so healthy and just radiant all the time. She said to me, what did you do? I mean, the last couple of years, your skin has just been great. I thought, I don't know. And then I realized that's about how long I've been doing the balance of nature. And I told her that it had made enough of a difference that she was noticing it and wanted to know what caused it. So, I am super happy with it.
Don't wait to see what getting over 10 servings of whole fruits and vegetables every day can do for you. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order of fruits and veggies. Start your journey to better health today by calling 1-800-2468-751 or by going to balanceofnature.com and make sure to receive this special radio offer by using discount code CHICAGO.